G'day and welcome to the Inforunners. I'm Execute, joined today by Slack and Adalgrid. How you doing?
I'm pretending to be an 890 jump owner who has just been allowed access to view an 890 jump, and I'm just shattered.
Yeah, so as you can probably tell, Algrid's finally got round to watching the Banner Merchman video. He delayed it for a bit.
All I can say is, had I been on watching it live with you, I'd have been going, "Oh beep, oh crap, oh wow," and I'd have been, it was just.
So yeah,
that blew my mind.
That kind of led us to talking about the similarities and differences between the Banner Merchman, and we kind of started to stumble on a few things. And I think it kind of got really...
Well, I've got to correct you there, Execute, because it was actually you telling me you need to watch the video. We were talking about it, and you were saying, you've got to watch the video, you've got to watch the video, you've got to watch the video. And I said, right, I'll go watch the video. And I was like, yeah, everything you were saying just left. I think I messaged you and said, yeah, the 890 is dead. Yeah. You own a luxury ship now, and the 890 is dead. I think that was my exact words to you as in the message after I watched it. So yeah, it was pretty.
Yeah,
pretty wow.
That's what I said to you, and you repeated my own words back to me. But that's fine. And yeah, because I did say that on stream. I think I now own a luxury ship.
Yeah, and I think I confirmed. Yes, you do.
So that kind of evolved a bit on, and as we went through the conversation, I remembered this image, and this is an image of one of the concepts originally of the 890 jump, where they talked about it having modules, and this was a shopping module, or
a shopping mall. It was basically a fancy shopping mall, wasn't it?
So, without kind of going too deep into it, but I started to wonder, where did this go? And then I also started wondering, why did the Merchman evolve at all? And those of you that are now savvy enough are realizing what I've thought. I'm like, did this turn into the Merchman? And ironically, if you very basically take out the kitchen and the bar of the 890 jump, and yeah, there are a few other little things like guns and things and components that change, but fundamentally, functional wise, you take that bar and the kitchen out of the 890 jump, and you take the cargo bay and the shops out of the Merchantman. Fundamentally, they're the same ship, right? And then the other part is, why did the Merchantman go from something, so its replacement is the Raelian at a $250 ship? Why is it now crept up and possibly literally rivaling this 890 jump? And that's where I came back to this image.
Looking at the BMM and what they're saying the BMM is, and looking at the cavernous cargo hold and the luxurious feel, they even said, it's got to be luxury because the Banu flaunt their wealth if they're successful, and so the Banu Merchantman is that. It is luxury to a T. It is gold-plated Trumpian luxury as opposed to subtle luxury, but it makes the 890 jump like someone in a flanny.
But you can look at this image. That is luxurious.
Yeah,
nice open spaces.
Yeah.
One of the things I said on stream was just the first set of stairs we walked into on the Banner Merchantman. It's like 3 or 4 people wide. You go on the 890, that grand spiral staircase. Yep. It's only as wide as one person.
And it's a beautiful looking grand spiral staircase on the 890 jump. But as we've often said, the staircase is so narrow that it actually loses it.
I now can tell you're tired because you just repeated what I said word for word. But that's totally fine. It's all good. It is. It's.
I was just reinforcing. That what we've said. Yeah.
It's late at night where we are, and yeah, we're trying to get this done. But yeah, long story short, that's what we wanted to talk about. Is just like the similarities between these two ships is actually quite striking. And yeah, there are other things like guns, and what I would definitely say, and you'd probably agree with this statement, the Banu's more offensive. This is more the 890 jumps more defensive. Yeah.
And I think that's something we've said is as a common feature with the exception of probably the 325A, is a feature of the Origin ships. They are They are defensive in nature. The 400i is a classic example of that. It's speedy and its guns fired of a rear, so it's running away. It's pew-pewing you. Totally different from, say, a Banner Merchant with size 8 guns at the front.
Yeah.
So it's really is a different style of play. I know.
It makes me wonder, like, they're going to have to come back and redo the 890 jump. They just have to. Like I kind of look at it and kind of analyze it now, and I just wonder how much wasted space is on that thing. How many superfluous doors and corridors does it have? And I also kind of want to look at a cutaway image and just see how much extra space there is inside it.
There are, just on the BMM, there were 6 floors. 6 floors on the BMM.
How many is on
was like,
what is there? 3? Is there 3 or 4 on the 890 jump?
Cargo, probably 4. Cargo hold, sauna.
Yeah.
Restaurant, bridge.
So yeah, it's got to be bigger. To have 6 floors, it's got to be bigger. You know, it's crazy to think that ship has grown that much. And I think one of the interesting things you said to me was, we talked about ships that have grown and stuff, and I remember you saying about the Idris, because remember the Idris went from, I always butcher this, Corvette to frigate or frigate to Corvette, and people got, I think it was like was it $600 saving? But this is bigger than that now. This
is massive, and I've said for a while that that I could see the BMM being 890 pricing, but having seen that video, it's not it could go to that pricing. I think it's destined to be that price or more. It really is a chalk and shoot, and if it doesn't go like that, every 890 jump owner should feel ripped off.
So
that would be the contrast for me. It's just so massive.
And the other thing I want to talk about too is, why didn't they just make another ship? Why didn't they make another Origin ship? Why didn't they make another Alien ship? Why didn't they make another ship, period? And the one I keep coming back to is the name. Merchantman, right?
Yeah.
Means selling, right? So they had this Merchantman that was a cargo ship, and they've got, the name is like, well, doesn't that mean selling or mercantile? So
yeah,
I think it's the name is partially also why it's grown.
Yeah, and I think you're right, because the original concept, as I understand it, and when I came on board, I can't remember a time when I thought the BMM really fitted that original concept. But it was, a lot of people talk about, it was that clipper ship, that fast, sleek, But you look at any of the armaments on clipper ships, and they're basically unarmed. They're slimmed down. They're fast travel. They're not for bulk cargo. And you look at an East Indian, and that's a reverse.
You're talking about the early 1900s here, so there's a different time period of like 1,000 years, so give or take. But I get what you mean.
The idea of, but the idea of the Banner Merchantman was supposed to have that image of being that really fast, sleek clipper ship, not a massive merchantman. So I tend to think they had these two ideas floating around in their head, but
I will kind of agree. Like, you now look at the Raelian. The Raelian kind of does fit that blockade runner a lot better, because it's got that whole forward, even the shape of it. That whole star thing is it's like a forward facing smack. Where the Merchantman looks more like a glorious space sail. What do they call that? Solar sail ship kind of thing. So it's a bit more fragile than a regular blockade runner. So I think that true is also a possibility. Why actually, now I think on it, it actually makes a lot more sense.
But I can't remember a time when the Banner Merchantman didn't have big guns and wasn't being talked about as having big guns. I can't remember a time when the Banner Merchantman wasn't being talked about as having at least having that conference room for having your traders and doing trade deals, and even having a small market. And so so even when I came on board, the Banner Merchantman had morphed into something different from what it was.
I think a part of it too, another part that I'll throw on there is just the actual evolution of the Banu themselves, you know.
Mm.
And the original, I think the original concept of the Banu Merchantman was like we talked about this earlier. It's a lot darker, and it's almost more Vandal than is, you know. I said at the time than Banu because it's got
Yeah,
you know
but the
wire
imagery they
mesh
had,
and
certainly.
lots of the spikes, and now it's more smoother and elegant and curved, and it's got more softer tones. It's moved more from like a, if you're going to use, you know, it was almost you know, Vandal, and now it's more you know, Mediterranean slash Middle Eastern, you know,
Yeah,
like, and I used on live stream, I said the word Aladdin, and what I meant by that is those, you know, those temples and the
yeah.
cloths and the silks
When
and all that type of
yeah,
stuff. Hmm.
when I first saw, you know, when I saw the meme, I think that was one of the first things you showed me, the meme of the old Banu Merchantman and the new one that kind of everyone says looks like a duck.
Yeah.
To me, the new image said this is Origin. That was it just to me was screamed out Origin ship.
Mm.
It was interesting when I was watching the video though, and they had some of the artwork. There was that one of the Banu Merchantmen sitting on the dock, sitting on the planet's surface with all the ships flying around it, set up as a bazaar. And when I saw that one, I could see the new, you know, the white Banu Merchantman clear as day.
Well,
I
funnily
could see
enough,
that.
Algrid, funnily enough, that's different from the initial Merchantman as well. You know,
Yeah,
that's changed as well. That's completely different again, and
yeah. Well, that had
in
more of
between. That's in
a rounded
between.
front as well.
That's in
Yeah,
between these two, yeah. Yeah. So yeah.
yeah.
Mm.
And so you can see that the Banu Merchantman has been evolving. And I know a lot of people say, "Oh, I wish it had still had the sharp point."
Mm.
But when you look at the stuff that they'd said the Banu Merchantman had, and compare it, you know, it had to change. You can't have Scythe 8 guns and still have this really sleek, minuscule pinpoint front. It just doesn't work.
Yeah. I'm just
You know,
opening up.
so
I'm just opening up this other image you're talking about, Agrid. So people can
yeah,
see. Yeah. So this is what Agrid was talking about. So this is the Banu Merchantman. And this was back when they started concepting the Defender and stuff. So this is more
mm.
in line with what we know now. And I would almost argue it's changed from this again. But yeah.
But when you look at that, you can see you've got the more white colouring. You've got a less pointed bow. It's certainly closer to that than that Vanduli really skeletal version that was the original version.
I do wish I could actually like, and I probably, if I had the time, it'd probably take me a couple of hours, but I could probably go back and find the original size of the Merchman. But from my memory, it's grown 3 times.
Yeah.
And,
Well,
and,
I can remember it growing at least once.
yeah, and well,
Actually twice.
yeah, so the last time was when Disco announced that it had grown to like Polaris size, and it's definitely bigger than that now.
Yeah.
You know, it's
Well, when it did grow to that size, Disco basically said it is a Banu frigate, is effectively what he called it.
Yeah.
Which to me was no surprise because it based on the lore of what the Banu were at the time, it was supposedly this generational family ship that was passed down from family to family or family member to family member. And the Banu didn't have a military; they had a militia, and when they needed it, they all banded together and all their big ships turned up, and so you had a fleet of Banu merchantmen basically turning up as their militia, and so hence the big guns and hence and so that I think is also part of that evolution of the Banu from that sleek.
I think for me, like, there's many moving parts to this, and I think it's just ironic how a few of them have lined up. So it's obviously things like everything we've mentioned. So it's like the Banu themselves, you know, ships that they actually had to hit in certain categories. So I actually think, like, you know how we drew up that thing for the 9 ships you never knew existed. I guarantee you they had a thing for, okay, we need a capital size shopping ship, we need a large shopping ship or whatever. And I think this has morphed, rather than having the 890 jump do 2 of those, they've, you know, I can see that over time as you got to remember, some of these images are going back to, like, as Algra said, back to 2014 or whatever. So they've obviously gone, oh, well, we've got more money now. We can make more ships. So rather than making, you know, another whole complete 890 jump, the 890 jump has narrowed its field, and they've folded the banner merchantman. Again, as we said, things like the name, stuff like that. They could have made another ship called the Zion Bazaar. You know, they could have gone that way. But I think these guys being the main traders in lore, now you're the lore guy. If you were going to ever do a top tier trading ship, it would be this, would it not?
And and when they brought out the Kraken and the Kraken Privateer, there was concern that why has Earth suddenly got the top tier merchant ship when the BMM had already been said, hey, it's going to have merchant shops. And when they launched the Kraken, they said that and they were going through the talk, they said the BMM would have a third of the shops, you know, roughly a third of the shops that the Kraken had. And that was really flipping on the head the trading nation having less stalls than a makeshift variant of a carrier. So I'll be honest, I'm quite glad that the new version, you know, it's got quite a few shops in it.
Yeah, it's 8 versus. So on the live stream, it was 8 versus 10.
Yeah.
I've frozen. That's fine.
So
all right, I'll fix it.
Yeah, you have frozen. You know, so I like the fact that the banner merchantman has gone to that. But then there were times I was watching the live stream or watching the restreamed stream, if you like.
Yeah.
And you know, I saw the cavernous cargo hold. You know, the cathedral with all the towering cargo, and I thought, this is too big.
It's really weird how vertically tall it is. So I do think it does in a way inhibit it, because if you have a strange or bespoke item, for example, say you wanted to take a cyclone, you can't stack another cyclone on top unless they're actually in cargo crates. You know, so that
and that will have an impact, and that lift is massive.
Yeah.
You know, and you could put
and if the cargo's that tall and the whole thing goes to the ground, like, oh, that's crazy. But but it's
maybe like those Japanese carports, you know, where the lift goes up and cargoes on.
There's definitely something very spiritual about the Banu now, I think. You correct me if wrong.
The fact that it's got a temple inside, you know, like
the little jars. It almost it's like they've grabbed all these different cultures around Earth too, because like it reminded me of the way like Asian people have those little scrolls and stuff that the incense and all that type of stuff. So they've grabbed from many different areas,
and yet that fits with the Banu. Because the Banu, we know the Banu just take the best or whatever works for them, or what they consider the best for them, and are just appropriate it. So that makes perfect sense. But yeah, there were, and I at least like the idea. Like in the past, I've railed against, you know, why have this Xeon tech? Tell me why this Xeon tech's valuable. And yet with this, when I was saying, it's got the Xeon tech, it's because, you know, the Banu have taken on this because that's what works for them. And you go, okay, I can take that. But when it was on the Odyssey, to me it was, tell me why. So I liked that aspect.
I think we both can agree though that it clearly the 890 jump's going to have to get a rework of some description. And I think they'll probably use the outside shell, and it'll have to be scaled up. Because like once just going back and watching the video, they have to copy the banner merchantman, and I don't mean like copy it tier for tier or anything like that. It's just like even the most basic level stairs, like that main area, right? It in the 890 jump, that whole, I don't know what you call it, where the opera singer sings, right?
The atrium.
That is the pinnacle of that ship. And I'm telling you, I'll say this in the politest way I can, that is a stain that you need to get rid of, CIG. Like it is terribly
The,
designed. To the
the
point,
fact that the stairs are so narrow that two people can't go up side by side is a travesty on a luxury ship.
yeah.
Here I am, the multi-millionaire with my my handbag girlfriend, on my arm, and you've got to walk behind me, babe.
Yeah, and
Sorry.
we've gone through ways you could fix that. Like you could have stairs that animate and move, and so they can be wider, so they can be temporary and stuff like that.
You
And
could have
quite on
on tech.
exactly, you could have floating stairs. There's a whole bunch of stuff you could do. So you can still work within that refinement, and I think it. Quite honestly, if you're anyone that's sitting here, even if you're not an 890 jump owner or an Origin owner, and you know what they're doing with the 600i, I honestly think just that atrium is the main room that really drags that whole ship down.
Yep.
Atrium is what that room is. I've just remembered the name.
Yep.
Atrium.
I said that a few minutes ago.
Yeah,
I'll
sorry.
just let it subliminal.
Yeah, it's all good.
But yeah, and you look at the BMM, and one of the things that got me and really made me say, the 890 is dead compared to the BMM was the fact that the BMM has VIP quarters, and I think there were two of them they hinted at least.
I think the only other thing you're losing is like the captain's quarters or something, and I'd happily give up the captain's quarter for everything else you gain. Quite honestly.
Well,
and how good do the regular quarters look? They look like I could have my whole harem in there. You know what I mean? Like it's that good.
Well, you look at the and they even explained why the BMM have that open crew quarter section.
They did,
where it's just little beds. They're a communal race, and putting that in the context of the race and the Banu culture makes sense. You go, okay, yeah, I know everyone likes that private room, but when you do it for 600, it doesn't work.
You know what? Something else I just thought of, the layout too, and I was thinking about the turrets. How you've got to go down all the way to the front of the ship to get onto the turret in the 890 jump, which is a luxury ship, mind you. Yet it's like down and there's this huge ass turret like down the smallest flight of stairs. Like it's, like even like I think that turret has to be a remote turret, and maybe the two turrets that are closer become actual turrets. I don't know.
Well, that was that big turret that's in the top. So you go into that tub and it goes up and it opens up.
But the biggest turret on the
room that you went into,
the biggest turret on the 890 jump is the one that's right up the front. Wide. So they're the two that you what I'm saying is because they're the two biggest turrets on both ships, they're the primary one that you'd want manned. So the fact that someone's got to go so far to get to that turret is kind of weird. You know what I mean?
And it is a difficult one. You've basically got your deck crew running up to that front one and the ventral turret on the 890. The thing that also struck me with the Banu turret was when you enter, and they said yes, it's just the Banu. It's almost a solemn occasion for the Banu, but it reminded me of Professor Xavier's
Cerebro
room.
Yep,
Cerebro.
I forgot it on the live stream. Don't worry.
Very much. So it was very much bad. So what they've done so far really did seem to hit the nail on the head every time. And and weird things like I've railed against the Phoenix having a hot tub, and I didn't like the idea of the 890 jump having this massive pool, which was just, to me, that they just seemed lazy additions. But for the Banu, again, the communal tub where they all meet, it fits with, it ties in better with the culture, and it's almost as if those human ships are trying to imitate the luxury and over the top exuberance of a Banu.
I wonder if the 890 jump suffers from the fact that it was a designed look, and then they had to take that look and make all the rooms fit within the ship. Because
as opposed to the new wave design.
Well, because again, let's look at back and look, just that turret alone, right? No one would deliberately put a turret all the way at the front of the ship like that, but they probably had no choice because of the way it was shaped. Right, where the Banu Menschman just got lucky, and it's like, well, the cockpit's up the top and the turret's on the top. Cool, we're lucky, So
Yeah.
so I actually think some of the ways they originally designed their ships is um like it's a retraction, you know, for the final
Well, I
design.
certainly used
And
to build them.
what I'm asking is, would you
Sorry.
mind if they changed the look of the 890 jump so it was more functional? What do you value more? And I throw this out to the comments as well. If anyone owns an 890 jump, would you rather a functional ship or do you care more about the look of the 890 jump? And what I mean by that is,
So the question you're asking is, do we want form over function or function over form?
yeah, essentially. So
Do you want
what?
the look of a
For example, would you mind if they put a? This is going to sound crazy because I can see the arguments where this is going to go, but what if the turret that was on the front was more like the Bannerman? It was on top of the 890 jump, and it's completely concealed normally, right? So it looks just like it does now, but then it opens up and this huge turret comes up the top, or it comes out the back, or something like that. Would you prefer
oh,
that?
that'd ruin my skylight. But yeah, but I can see the arguments, but
Yeah.
I can also see the value of it. Um, I think part of the problem with the 890 jump is that it is an old chip now.
Mm.
I know it sounds weird, but it's an old chip, and even the design feature, you know, they kind of would build the outside of a ship and then fit everything else inside, and there were certain things they needed to make sure it had. So they needed to make sure that the 890 jumps hangar could take 2 extra small ships.
Yeah.
Because that's one of the things that they'd said originally.
Mm.
And so there were lots of things they had to put in because they said it. And I think the 890 jump, the BMM is the same. Even though they'd originally said it was this sleek clipper ship, it had always been a lot of cargo. It had always, from my memory, it had always had big weapons. It had always had the biggest thing that I can remember being added that hadn't been there was when the Defender came out and they said, oh, it will have a symbiotic relationship with there'll be a really close symbiotic relationship between the two, which indicated there'll be a hangar of some form.
All right, I got a question for you that's just come to my mind. So currently, right
Yep.
now, being Alien Week, the Banner Merchantman is now sitting at $600. Now, the original price, you correct me if I'm wrong, was the original price of the 890 jump, from my memory, was $650. Is that correct?
I think that was with the Australian tax. I think it was 600.
Okay, well,
I'd have to go back and have a look, but it was around that price from memory.
Well,
Yep.
we'll assume I'm correct, right? But so what I'm wondering is, I reckon the next jump might be a lot bigger, right?
Oh.
And that's so because they're expecting people to upgrade their 890 jumps, right? So if it jumps by like $150 next time, I would not be surprised because that means they get $100 from everyone that upgrades their 890 jump.
Given the size, given what the Banner Merchantman is, and if you're after a luxury ship, based on Inside Star Citizen, the last one, the Banner Merchantman is the penultimate luxury ship. You know, even when they were talking the graphic designs and when they panned out of the ship and they were doing that, I went, yeah, this is not Origin. And I know when we were originally talking, you showed me that meme. I said, this is Origin. And you said, no, it's not. And I was arguing with you and you said, just watch the video. And after watching it, I was, yeah, it's not Origin. You had all that scroll work that you could see on the Defender, which they'd kind of pulled in. And I could really see it as a Banu ship. But they made the comment that, you know, we've got all this scroll work and stuff, and Disco even said there's a lot of greeballs on this ship for an early stage, and I said, yeah, we've pulled a lot of it from the Defender.
Yep.
But they also made the point that the Banu flaunt their wealth, and you even if you're not a great trader, you want to pretend you're a great trader because you're a bit like the Ferengi in Star Trek. You know, you want to give this portrayal of I'm very successful, so you know you're going to trade with me because
I'm bling bling.
I'll do you the right deal. Yeah, and so they really bling out their ships and make it look awesome, and so everything goes into that ship to give that image, and so it's luxury to the T.
Yeah. So I did just look up the price. You were correct. It was $600. So they are now equal, but there being no $0 CCUs, everything I said can still come to pass. So they can, whatever the next jump is, I actually predict it might be higher than we think, because it would then, they would get then more money off people that want to jump from the 890 jump.
Yep. I really, having watched the video, I can't see it not being more than an 890 jump. In the end, the 890 jump I think is now 980.
Yep.
I can't see the BMM ending up being less than 1,000. I just can't see it. And yeah, that'll mean they'll give it LTI. But if you're an 890 jump owner and you're looking at VIP transport, then why aren't you looking at this?
I think at the very least they'll make it the same price. Because that means you can't upgrade sideways. If they were to make it like 990, I just can't see why people wouldn't jump off it.
No, that's right.
You almost wonder if, ironically, they're setting it up so they can upgrade it at a future date.
I can't see a reason why they wouldn't do that. It really is that just such a big. I'm staggered when I think of a BMM watching that show. I was gobsmacked at what it was, and just that. Even that, I said it before, the cavernous cargo hold, the massive lift, the turret room, the VIP rooms for your trading partners, your conference room, everything about it was just saying was appealing to that luxury, and even the entrance area. Like they talked about the entrance area on a 890 jump being that thing of giving you that sense of luxury. But when you enter even the entrance into the trade hall of the BMM was that sense of luxury, and the silhouettes of those really rare and unique items.
All right, well, we've been talking about this for 30 minutes now, so I'm going to wrap it up because I'm wondering how many people we've lost. But because people don't like to listen to us
we started a waffle because it's late and we're tired. Yep.
Yeah, so but yeah, if you like this type of content, leave us a like, subscribe. If you want to go the extra mile on Patreon, you can do that as well.
We're always appreciative and amazed by the support we get. Whether it's a like, subscribe, a comment, whatever. Well, if you do leave a comment, make sure it's polite.
What would you like to hear from people in the comments, Algrid?
Yeah. Why keep an 890 jump?
Yeah. And like I said before, I'd like to know from 890 jump owners, would you be prepared to give up a bit of your look to get some more functionality? Because I think that might be what it takes. You might have to do that.
I think that's a question for Joram. We'll have to get Joram on.
Well, funny enough, you mentioned that. He's probably going to be on the live stream next week if we get him on. So
that was a perfect segue by me because I knew that.
Oh yeah, we're probably going to go through all this dance again, but yeah. I think the takeaway for me is CIG hates Origin more than I do, and yeah, I'll just leave that there for you to stew on.
That's a good question. Do you think CIG hate Origin as much as Execute? Having seen the BMM, I tend to agree.
I don't hate Origin. As I said to you, I just want them to do more, and I think this shows that they need to do more. Quite honestly. I'd
100% agree.
If I'd spent that amount of money that they're asking, and I'd got that, and then they all of a sudden just like, oh, here's this newer, sleeker, better, cheaper. I'd be, especially if you spend $1,000 to get an 890 jump, and there's a $250 ship originally that is better, you'd be pissed. You'd be pissed.
Even if you got an 890 jump at the original price, $600 versus a BMM at $250.
We're doing it again, Algrid. We're gonna stop. We're never gonna stop this video. This is what happened last time. Anyway, all right. So we're gonna cut it off here because me and Algrid are gonna talk for another hour after this is finished. But yeah, let us know your thoughts. Because it's just cool to see how this evolved over a 10-year period, and that's kind of where this discussion started. And you can obviously see there's a lot of passion here between me and Algrid, because I kind of half laugh at Algrid and go, see, I told you so, and Algrid goes like, no, I hate you because like it should be better, and I agree with him, no, it should be better, and it's just that's just how
Well,
it goes.
I say, well, I've got three.
Yeah, well, there you
I've
go.
got more BMMs than I've got 890s, so
Yeah.
I'm sitting sweet regardless, you know. But yeah,
All right, with that then, he's been Algrid, I've been Execute.
he's been Execute,
We'll catch you
and
next
we're out
one.
of here.